Hi, folks, and welcome to another episode of Careers and Coffee. So, this is our final of season three, which sounds crazy just to think we've done that many live streams all since May last year. And in the usual tradition, I'm bringing on some colleagues to talk a little bit about careers and coffee, some of the fantastic guests that we've had on, some of the good and the bad, but also what our plans are for season four. It's going to be a little bit different. So, let's bring on some of my colleagues to talk a little bit more about season three as our catch up. Welcome, folks. How are we doing?
Great. Yeah, super. Thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Sun's out. It's spring, so yeah, this is what we like. Let's. Actually, why don't we kick off with, who is everyone? What does everybody do? And then we can talk a little bit more about some of the best bits of season three. How's that sound?
Excellent.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep. You
Madeline?
go first, Madeline.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Madeline, and I am an enterprise coordinator, and I look after the schools in the Norwich opportunity area.
Fabulous. And you've done hosting and the wonderful techie bits behind the scenes as well. Is that right?
No, I've just done the hosting. I'm far too chicken to do the techie bits behind the scenes. I'll leave that to the people with the brains.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Nice segue on to Josie now then.
Okay, yeah, so I'm Josie, so I'm an enterprise coordinator as well. So I do what we do affectionately call the donut around Ipswich. So I have East Coast, Baber and Mid Suffolk. And I'm also kind of the techie person, I suppose, in the team generally.
Yes.
And so I've taken on doing kind of the live streaming tech side of stuff. At the moment, we are experimenting with going live on Twitch as well as YouTube. So I am slightly distracted as I'm doing this because I'm getting little notifications and pop-ups, and I'm trying to make sure things are working elsewhere. So I am here, I am listening, I will chip in, but occasionally I will be looking away from the screen whilst I do things.
There's two clones of Josie behind the scene. Nobody
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a new insight. That's what I like. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about season three. So we are at the end of this current season. Many episodes and live streams and guests later. Madeline, what's been some of your highlights from season three? Some of the guests you've spoken to.
Well, actually, in season three, I've only actually spoken to one group of guests, but it was a really, really awesome experience because I spoke to Sophie Skip, who's the employer engagement coordinator at UTCN, and three of their students, the sixth formers.
University Technical College.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So the school is set up slightly different to most schools because obviously it's all set up with a complete focus on industry, and the school ranges from year 9 to 13. And all the students there are very much into STEM subjects. That's where their interest is. But when everything went pear-shaped with lockdown and we couldn't do the face-to-face kind of employer encounters, they got very heavily involved in actually the virtual work experience opportunities that became available. And so I actually was speaking with three of the students about their experience of virtual work experience. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Experience of virtual work experience. And actually chatting with them about what actually made them feel brave enough to dive in to do it, because it's such a different experience to actually turning up face to face somewhere, to actually suddenly find yourself behind a screen with other students who you've never met before, in front of grown-ups who are going to be teaching you, bringing you into their world of work, and you're behind a screen. And it is a big jump. It's a great step into the unknown. If you're doing it face to face, you walk into that building and then everything takes over. You have to just kind of get on with it. But with a screen, it's slightly different. And it was interesting to actually find out A, what made them actually do it, and B, because some students get such stage fright that they then, after a few minutes, they just disappear. And so I thought it was really important to find out what made these guys stay. And one of the things was that they had the most sensational support from their school to actually really brief them well and to understand it. They went on some really good programs, one of which, of course, is the very famous Morgan Sindel virtual work experience, because it's such a good program. They give the students, because another thing, people think that, is this real? Is it going to be as good? But they give the students real projects to work on. They are doing real jobs, and they meet lots of people from different parts of the company, and they really have to get stuck into it. And so I think one of the things that made them kind of stay was, A, they were so well prepared by their school, and B, the program was instantly very engaging. And then you get the feedback from the students. And I'm not sure how much of that came across on the screen, but certainly talking to them behind the scenes, it was just life-changing for them. They learned some incredible skills. They made friends with people they'd never met before, because, of course, one of the beauties of virtual work experience is that there's a whole group of youngsters doing it. So you could have 30 youngsters all following the program at the same time. And so you're meeting people from not just your own school, other schools, other parts of the country. You're meeting, and of course, the employers that you're working for, they could be anywhere. They could be anywhere in the world. And so they're getting a different kind of experience to face. But it's really interesting and really impactful. And when you actually then hear them talk about it afterwards and see the confidence, I mean, speaking with Sophie about it, from the school, and she said, you just see their confidence as people grow. And I think this is what's so important, and why I really want employers to kind of get on board with offering it, because it's so good for their talent pipeline. They can sort of actually meet youngsters that they might one day want to work for them. They're really taking a part and actually developing the next generation. And I kind of think that gives you a nice warm feeling in your tummy when you do that. And it's just a kind of, I'm going to sound really cliched, but it really is a win-win situation, because even if, there were students who've done this, other students I've spoken with about virtual work experience, and even if they haven't, at the end of it, they have said, actually, I don't want to go into engineering, go into law, go into whatever they've done, they've actually picked up so many skills that it's actually going to be something that is preparing them for life.
Yeah.
So it's such a positive. And sorry, I could rabbit on about this for hours, because
no, that sounds fantastic.
I think it's brilliant. I just think it's such a great opportunity, and I really hope other youngsters feel brave enough to try it, because once you've done your first day, the rest of it is sort of it's downhill all the way.
So, excellent. Yeah. Josie, I want to move on to you. What's been some of your highlights, season 3?
I'm trying to think who we had on. I obviously enjoyed Ed last. That was this week. God, the week's gone quick, hasn't it?
I know.
It's gone quick. Just because he's just interesting, because he does such a niche type of role around the fact that he runs all these different creative things himself. So he's a writer, a sketcher, and all of those kind of things, and then has a networking group as well, which I'm part of that networking group, so I see the benefit of that networking group and how collaborations have come from that. So it was just interesting to hear from him, really. And I know that that's how we got Oggy on, for example. It's how we got Mark Aaron on as well. So we've had some really interesting creative people, and Lois as well, from that network group. So actually, I know the value of that network group just from Careers and Coffee. I know the value of his network group. So it was interesting to have him on and hear him. And I think because he's such a quiet, unassuming person, actually you wouldn't necessarily think that he's somebody who runs a creative networking group, because you would assume that that's filled with huge characters and personalities and all of that. It's all of those biases and assumptions we have that we put on those people. And actually, no, there's very quite calm, introverted people also in that group, and who are running networking groups. So that was just nice to see. What about yourself? Who have you had as a favourite?
I think probably Alan Cadzo. I really enjoyed that
He was good.
conversation.
Yes, he was.
Alan's from Suffolk County Council, heads up children and young people, and he was brilliant. And I rewatched some of them earlier because you do blast through these interviews. You're chatting and you're really in the moment with them. Cliche as that sounds. It's nice to sort of recap and actually digest what they've talked about. And towards the end, he said it's okay to feel a bit crap in this situation. No one's going to blame you for that, and that sometimes you just need to acknowledge it and own it. And I thought that was great. And other guests we've had on, so we've had the judges on again this season.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, the group of I think we had 3 district judges and a magistrate. They were fantastic. They were so unjudge-like that you'd see on the telly. It was great. And similarly, obviously, we had Lord Hamlin, Supreme Court Justice, which, if I said to anybody back last May when we were setting this up, say, yeah, let's get on a Supreme Court Justice to have a copy of this and talk whatever on YouTube, I think we'd have probably been laughed at. So I think it shows the impact that we've had, and he was fantastic. And they're just normal folks who we invite on and they happen to have sometimes some fancy titles. So that was easily some of my highlights of them.
We've had a question from Twitch, so I thought I would post it because it's from Twitch.
Oh.
So
that's not the question. Excuse me. Sorry, that was the response.
Thank you. So you speak to others about their careers, but what do you all love about your roles? Who wants to take that?
I will, if you don't mind, because I'm out of the 3 of us, I'm the newest member of the team.
You are indeed.
And so I would actually say that just hope my boss isn't listening because it's going to sound like I'm being a creep, but it has to be said without any doubt whatsoever, this is the best team anybody could ever wish to work with. Absolutely, 1,000,000%. I've been really lucky in my career, and I've worked with some great people, like at Birchwood Surgery and at Alba Surgery and at the hospital. I've worked with some really good people, and I've even worked for a factory called Strongbar, where I was the business manager and HR manager there. Brilliant place. I have worked with some really, really nice people. But I have to say that, I never thought that I would be lucky enough to work with such a great team again. And I think what's so amazing about the team, that everybody just kind of dives in and everybody supports one another. And the job's just really, really good. It's really nice, the people that we work with and the schools and what we're trying to achieve. So I can't actually say a negative about it, to be honest with you. Apart from sometimes
there's a lot of spreadsheets
to do the admin. So, or maybe even a social media guru who could do some really creative resources for us. But
I could do that, but I just need more time, man. That's the issue.
Yeah. But there's only one of you, and we need about 4 or 5.
So Josie, same to you. What do you love about your role?
Probably pretty much the same as Madeline. I love everything about my role. I really do love everything about my role, except probably the admin, exactly the same. But I think that's pretty much most people's jobs. Unless you are someone who is an administrator, I think you probably love everything else around your job other than the admin core part, which is every job, isn't it? Every job has paperwork that needs to be filled in to track stuff. So we all have that. But I love the team. I think we have probably the best team I've worked with. We all have different strengths. We all have different weaknesses. And pretty much, I think we all know what each other's strengths are. So when you are finding an issue with something, you generally know who to go to in the team and say, how do you do so-and-so? Or, whatever. And we're pretty good at collaborative working as well within the team. And I love the fact our jobs are never the same. It's different every single day. There is a different project coming up every single day. There are different challenges in schools, and you have to be creative on finding ways to support that school with problem solving around that whatever that challenge is for that school at that time. Sometimes there are patterns with challenges, so you can create a project internally to then support with developing and supporting all of those schools at the same time. Sometimes it's very school specific. So for us, I think it's just great because it's so varied, and what we are doing, what we're creating is changing so much all the time that it does make it just interesting. And I know essentially, the new term is around job carving and creating jobs for yourself. And I think we all do that in this role. We all carve our own places in this role, and we have enough autonomy in our roles to create little specialisms while still all getting on with our day job.
Yeah. And I mean, like, for me, like yesterday, the London Local Enterprise Partnership were putting on, for their careers leaders, a webinar about the benefits of using Compass Plus. And one of my schools was asked to actually join in and showcase that, because they've used the tool so well that they've the way they use it has got out. Another school, a school from London, London have actually asked them to kind of join in and show how they use it and the benefits of it. And that was really awesome, because City Academy in Norwich have worked really, really hard at actually developing their program, and to actually be asked on the national level to showcase what they're doing is actually really cool as well. So you get some incredible rewards, I think, with this role. And that's really good.
What about you, Jordan?
So, it's difficult to say anything. The team are lovely. I think for me is that you can sort of be a role model to a lot of young kids who perhaps don't have that in their life sometimes when you're engaging with schools directly and students, and that's easily one of the best bits of the job. I love it. And I spoke to some students on a few weeks ago, Holbrook Academy, and it was great. And they're asking me loads of questions after my little career talk. It was brilliant, and that's the best bit for me. And I think also to have the autonomy to just get on and have an idea, and then to execute it, that's really good. Whether that be directly related to your role or will complement overall what you're trying to achieve. So I know that a lot of the team have voluntary positions outside of day job, and they are actively encouraged because it supports both personal growth but also the impact of the work we're doing. So Josie being a governor, and other colleagues setting up various groups outside of work to complement what's going on, above and beyond what they're paid to do. And for me, that's huge to be able to give back in that way. But a question for both of you, I suppose, did you envisage a role like this when you were at school, or did you have totally other ideas? And do you think that you have got any of the skills that you had when you were 15, 16 that you've sort of managed to take into these roles? Who wants to tackle that?
How about you tackle that first, Jordan?
Good one, Josie.
Nice. No is the answer. Back when I was at school, not too long ago. No, but I knew that I liked. I didn't want a normal job in some respects. I knew I was very good with people, and I knew I wanted to sort of give back in some sort of capacity, and also be part of the community I'm in, both business in terms of that local aspect. So I sort of had the right sort of values and aims set out in terms of what I wanted to do. It was just finding a career path that would enable me to do that, and I sort of have now. So yeah, in terms of those skills, I think I'm still as confident and good communicator, I'd like to think. But then you have to develop new skills along the way to keep up with what's going on. This year's prime example in terms of why everyone's an absolute whiz on StreamYard and Teams and Zoom and every other platform out there. So yeah, I think you need to set out sort of what you think you're good at, and then take it from there. And I'm not, like I said in this career talk to these students, said, do not follow your passion, follow what you're good at. No one's passionate about tax law at 16, but actually you might be really good with numbers, and that you can find a role that you are really good at and that you enjoy it. You will then get satisfaction out of that. That then turns into being passionate about it. So yeah, I'm always a big believer in sort of do what you're good at, and then sort of passions then sort of come out of that. I'm passionate about cars. I'm a crap driver though, so I'm not going to be on. Yeah, I'm not going to be on Top Gear anytime soon. So that's one example. So Josie, I'm going to back that back to you now.
Yeah. So when I was at school, I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do. I knew I enjoyed music, drama, arts, being creative generally. Tech wasn't something we did in school. Like, I'm that old, you know. We had it's like, genuinely, I am that old. We didn't have computers. We had one computer suite when I was at school, and it was really only for those people who were genuinely wanting to do IT and computing were allowed in. So any of us who were particularly creative and maybe humanities based generally in our outlooks were not people who were in the computer suite. So that wasn't something I got to explore. And as you know, I am quite techie. I like tech. I enjoy tech and how things work and playing with different software and all those kind of things. So actually, I would have loved to have had that opportunity whilst at school, because I think my career would have developed maybe in a slightly different direction. But when I was at school, I was that kid who was in everything. As you know, I am as an adult. I haven't changed as a kid. I volunteered outside of school. I was in every single extracurricular thing possible. I was that kid. I just was that kid. And that continued into my kind of part-time jobs. I always had at least 2 part-time jobs on the go. I volunteered at the same time. So I used to work for Alba Foundation. I used to support running their club for young people aged 8 to 18 around arts and stuff. So I was doing that. And at the same time, I was volunteering at the National Trust, and I was volunteering for an organisation at that time that was called Fab Out and About, which was for people with learning difficulties and disabilities, and about getting them out in the community and taking part in community-based activities. So I was doing those things already. So I'd already kind of exploring. I liked working with people. I liked working with young people with learning difficulties. I enjoyed that interaction. I enjoyed that sense of responsibility as well. And that kind of just has grown and developed as I have become older. And I've tried lots of different jobs. I had an office-based job for about 4 months. I hated it. So I knew that wasn't something I wanted to do. So yeah, I think for me, it's been experience that has got me to where I am now. I never for a second thought I wanted to work in careers. It wasn't even an inkling of an idea in my head. There wasn't that there, but I knew I wanted to work with young people. That's always been a theme in all of my career. I know I like working with teens specifically, so again, that's been another theme in my career. But other than that, it's never been, oh, I want to work in careers. It is now. I love careers. I really enjoy it, and I would like to continue working in this field moving forward in whatever capacity that is. But I wouldn't want to step out of working with young people ever. That would, they for me.
Sounds good. And Madeline?
I'm doing completely differently to what I plan to do. I'm ancient, obviously, and when I was at school, there was no such thing as computers or anything like that. And my knowledge was that I was going to join the Royal Air Force and become a fighter pilot. And because I grew up in the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of women's lib going on and lots of battles going on for equal rights and equal access. But of course, the classification for women in the forces then was very different to how it is now. It was a fairly derogatory term in terms of anything to do with action. Despite best efforts, it was never going to happen. I could pass any test didn't matter. It wasn't going to happen. So I campaigned a lot for women to have equal access to career roles in the forces. So that kind of, when I realised that that wasn't going to happen, it really threw me. I have to say, it really did throw me. I'd never wanted to do anything else, never thought about anything else, never considered anything else. And so drifted doing all sorts of different jobs until eventually my mother actually said I'd left home. And she said to me when I was about 20, you need to get a proper job. And she'd filled in an application for me to join the careers service in my name. So in those days, paperwork wasn't quite as stringent as it is now. And I suddenly found that I was being offered an interview to join the civil service. So that's actually where I started working. And again, I worked for an organisation that doesn't exist now called Her Majesty's Stationery Office. And I remember my first managers, Esther McClure and Sue Whitaker, and my director, Vi Wilson. They were all female, and that was quite unusual. And I worked in the business supplies division where they trained me to become a buyer. So I became a member of the Chartered Institute of Purchase and Supply. And again, I was incredibly lucky because these people were fantastic role models. I really, really liked them. I really, really respected them. They taught us well and the importance of team working. And I think I recognised when I was quite young that I liked networking. That's what I really like doing, and building relationships with people. And I ended up from there, setting up the first customer service department at the office, at the organisation, and then moving into sales and marketing. But since then, I've worked in a number of different fields. I ended up going travelling and living overseas for a few years, and then came back and moved into law. And I also worked for the Training and Enterprise Council when it existed, which is a bit like the forerunner of the local enterprise partnerships, with exactly the same kind of remit.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I've done a wide range of things, and also spent a lot of time working in the NHS too.
Fantastic. Thank you, Violet. So I'm going to come on to the question we've got, and then I'm going to wrap things up because I'm very conscious of time. So in your own experience of working careers, how can the world of work embrace inclusivity and the benefits of working with a diverse range of individuals? Big question.
It's not a small one.
This team is diverse, different ages, different backgrounds, different sexes. And I think that has enabled us to tackle different problems and challenges in a unique way, because we're all able to bring different sort of takes on it based on our experiences and our background. And that means that what we produce at the end of it appeals to a far broader audience. And I think just on the diversity piece, just because you have lots of different faces around the table and different ages, etc., doesn't mean you've got diversity of thought. It's making sure that you've got different backgrounds and experiences within that. Otherwise, everybody could be thinking the same way. I'm just going to briefly sum up in terms of what we're doing for season 4. So things are going to change slightly different. So we're going to have a lovely break for 2 weeks over Easter half term. And so are students and careers leads and teachers, and I think everybody probably deserves that. But what we are going to be focusing on next time is, well, firstly, we're changing when this is happening. So no longer 12:30 till 1. It's going to be 4:30 till 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the date stays the same. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4:30 till 5 is when Careers and Coffee is going to be broadcast. So it enables you as students and young people to be able to view this post-school, maybe set it as homework as teachers as well. And we're also keen to have more relatable role models on to support Careers and Coffee. So folks that you're meeting every day, folks who are, well, back in the day when you could get your hair cut, right through to people you're buying your favourite products from, or serving your favourite food from. So keen to have more relatable role models moving forward on Careers and Coffee. As much as we love chief executives and managing directors, sometimes some of those positions can feel a little bit unattainable to a 15-year-old, because that's exactly how I would feel. And it's trying to make sure that there's something in there for everybody. Again, picking up on that sort of diversity piece. Now that it's ticked over 30 minutes, Josie, Madeline, anything further to add?
Yeah, so we're going to be having not only on YouTube, we have tested out Twitch today as well. So it'll be on Twitch and YouTube at 4:30. So you can post comments in either. You know, if you're the kind of person who's maybe playing a game online and watching Twitch at the same time, which I know a lot of young people do, well, a lot of older people do as well, but our audience is younger people generally. So you know, you've got the chance to watch and pose questions that way. There's a suggestion box on Twitch around which guests you'd like to see. So you're more than welcome to fill in suggestions and put them in that box so that we can see the types of guests you'd like, you know, any other suggestions that you have, you know, whatever that is, you know, maybe it's you want to see Jordan in a blue shirt rather than a brown jumper, you know, that kind of thing, whatever you want, we don't care. But we'd love to hear from people. We'd love to hear from our audience. So yeah, that's there. We also would love to hear from you generally, you know, so please ask questions. You know, this is for you. So if you have a question for a professional that you want to know, we do want you to ask it and not be embarrassed about asking the questions. So please do pose the questions, you know.
Yeah. And just to add to that very, very quickly, I would say that we're hoping next term to also have some parents come and talk about how they feel virtual work experience has affected their child as well. So seeing the parental perspective. And also it'd be really nice to have some people from the construction industry in. When you're talking about chief executives and managing directors recently, I actually had somebody come to do some quote on work from my house, who is the managing director of a building company. And he started off life as a carpenter. And he said if anyone had told him 30 years ago where he'd be, he'd say, not in a million years, no, I could never do that. So it would, and we all know that actually finding really good people in the building trade, you know, whether you want a plumber, electrician, nowadays we're all having to wait months. You know, I can't get my work started for at least 3 or 4 months. So that's really frustrating. We desperately need young people to enter these trades.
Yes,
so
we do.
If you're a plumber, electrician, builder, anybody in the construction industry, and you'd like to come on Careers and Coffee and talk about your role, please come on. We would love to hear from you and have you inspire the next generation. Please.
Excellent. Thank you, folks. Right, I think we can sign off there, and we're looking forward to seeing you all. I can't remember the day, but after Easter half term, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4:30 till 5. Looking forward to seeing you. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.